Rosie, I feel like we need to restore the equilibrium here. Your pasta bake was delicious, but unfortunately it was very, very vegan. A little bit too vegan for me, so I'm going to pull it back a little bit.
I'm proud of you anyway.
Now, to get started, I've got some basil here. I need you to pick the leaves of basil.
Yep.
And garlic, just slice it nice and fine. If you get started with that, I'm going to get going with the rest of it. I've got some bacon, and I always have this speck or bacon, whatever you've got in the fridge, but I love this. It's got lovely bits of fat, which gives it lovely...
Always got it in your back pocket, don't you?
I've always got a piece of speck in my back pocket. And the bacon, what I do with the skin, I'll pop that into the pan here, and it sort of renders down a little bit. So you're using the fat from the speck to add some flavour.
So you don't want to get rid of that?
No, that's the best part of it. You know, I'll use that when I'm cooking rice or I'm cooking chicken. I'll pop that into the pan. Even cooking eggs, you can pop that into the pan, render it down and get some flavour out of it. And then, you know, you cook everything else in it. And then at the last bit, you can take it out or you can let it cook nice and slowly till it becomes tender. Speck gives great flavour, and I'm just going to cut it all the way through here. So I've got little strips. This will sort of go all the way through the pasta bake and give it that smoky bacon speck flavour that I love so much. In it goes. Hear that sizzle, Rosie? You like that?
I can hear it.
Some extra virgin olive oil goes in there. A good swoosh of that all around the outside here. You'll get the speck and the olive oil working together, rendering down, adding flavour to the pan. So when you put it all together, it's going to taste wonderful. Now, I've always got some sausages floating about in my fridge, and the skin just peels off nice and gently like this. I'm using this instead of mince. And the reason I like to use sausage is because it's got great flavour. You know, I've already made it, or I've got it from your local butcher. It's got meat in there. It's got a little bit of fat for flavour.
We couldn't be more different, could we?
Exactly.
Yet our lives, they've come together.
You know what, Rosie? I reckon you could do this with a vegan sausage.
Yep.
You'd have to pull it apart a little bit and break it, but you could do exactly the same dish with all your vegan alternatives.
I'm rubbing off on you.
Exactly. Very, very slowly, very slowly. Now, that'll sit down the back then. I'll give my hands a little bit of a wipe. The trick when you are using the sausages like this is to just use the spoon and break them up.
Now, this feels like a typically Italian kind of dish.
This is something my nonna would make for me, or usually my grandfather. If he was making a little bit of sauce with some pasta, he would break up some sausages, a little bit of freshly chopped tomatoes through there, and some basil, and throw in some spaghetti. But because this is going to go in the oven, we're going to use some great tin tomatoes, which are fantastic. Australian tin tomatoes that hold it all together. Some pepper goes in here to give it some lovely flavour, and of course some salt. We've got meat in there, so salt loves meat, meat loves salt. Be careful because sausages are usually well seasoned as well, so you don't want to add too much salt in there. There we go.
That's true.
Onions, red onions, already finely diced, and some fresh bay leaves. You can use dried bay leaves if you want, but if you've got some fresh ones, I've got some neighbours around me that have fresh bay leaves, and I just rip them off the trees and put them in the kitchen. That goes straight in there like that. Is that looking good, Rosie?
It's looking really good.
Smells
really
great,
good.
doesn't it?
It smells delicious.
You can tell it's already one of my dishes. Now, the basil, you pulled it apart beautifully. Pulled apart like this, it gives it a much better flavour.
I know where to go. I've got some time. Practice my mindfulness.
Time would be great, but just basil's enough. Thank you. There we go. In goes the garlic. Come on, Rosie, put it in there. Now, the trick with this one, Rosie, is just to let it sweat down for a few minutes so the onions soften up a little bit and the meat sort of caramelises. And it gives us a great opportunity. I'll turn this on here. If you pass the butter over here, we're going to make the cheese sauce that goes on top. So some butter. I've got about 200 grams or so of beautiful butter. So this is salted butter. Always a good idea to know whether you're using salted or unsalted, because if you're using salted butter, just pull back on the salt a little bit. You'd never think I would say that, would you?
What's happened to you? Are you all right?
I've changed.
I'll give you one vegan meal.
I know.
It's all different.
I know. I'm thinking maybe I should use some of that vegan cheese because it is better than you think. Now, a wooden spoon over there, Rosie, if you can pass me that, and the flour and the milk. The trick when you're making a sauce like this is, of course, to let the butter melt, and then once the butter's melted, add the same amount of flour to it, stir it around till you've got a nice little roux, and then we'll slowly add the milk till it becomes a nice thick sauce.
Simple to remember.
Exactly. Then all we need to do is put some cheese in and it's ready to go. Now, this will take a couple more minutes to sweat down beautifully. A couple more minutes for the roux. We'll be able to put this together beautifully. Rosie, the bechamel sauce is thickening up beautifully.
Perfect.
It's almost ready to have the cheese in it. And look at this. Caramelised beautifully. In goes a red wine, about half a cup. Now, normally you'd let that reduce down a little bit. We won't. We're going to put our tin tomatoes straight in here. Australian crushed tomatoes.
Good stuff.
Perfect. In they go. If you're using whole tomatoes, you just crush them up with the back of the spoon. Easy to do. Now, the packet of pasta over there, if you can grab that for me. I'm using the little macaroni. Open that up. Into the salted water it goes. A nice big amount of salt in there. In it goes, Rosie. What I'll do is I'll cook the pasta for about half the cooking time, 4 or 5 minutes. The sauce should be ready. We'll have the cheese in our white sauce or bechamel sauce, and we'll be able to pop this into the oven and get cracking on it. Look at this beautiful sauce. And I haven't even got the cheese in there yet. Wait till I put the cheese in there. Pasta's half cooked, and this is a great time to just give it a bit of a drain like that. And I don't need to put it in a colander and drain off all the liquid. You know, we just pull it out of here, and it's still got probably 4 or 5 minutes to cook this pasta. Yep. And it will cook the rest of the way in the baking tray. And, you know, you don't have to worry about getting all the water off it because the pasta will absorb some of that water. Pull the last couple of little bits out there. We don't want to leave any little stragglers behind.
It's such an easy dish, isn't it?
It is really, really easy. Now, I'll just stir that around just to make sure it's all incorporated, and you can see the sauce and the sausages are all coming through, poking through the top there. Now, Rosie, you might need to step back just a little bit. I'm going to grab this baby here and pour it straight into the baking tray. I've got a really nice heavy base baking tray, and look at all that sauce comes out on top of it. And you can see there's a little bit of liquid around the outside. That's just about ready to go. Now, to finish it off, Rosie, we need to finish off the sauce and put the cheese on top.
Of course we do.
Just like yours. Now, you can see the bocconcini I've got there. I'm going to get you to pop them in there. One here. So each portion, 6 portions, will get a bocconcini all the way through.
Smuggle them in, as you would say.
I would say that a lot, actually, wouldn't I? Mozzarella and parmesan go into the sauce, and the trick is to put this in at the last minute. If you stir it in too much, it becomes really, really sticky and gooey. A little bit over the top, and the cheese will melt as I stir it all through. Hopefully, it won't get too hot. Look at that. Look how gooey it becomes with that mozzarella.
Like, a few people are intimidated by the bechamel, but really it's just make sure that you stay around. That's really the thing, isn't it?
Exactly. Keep an eye on it. Look at that going on there. Is that looking delicious?
Wow.
That's a lot of sauce on there, and
look at the clean pan as well in there.
I'm going to save that for you, Rosie. Now, with the back of the spoon, I'm just going to smooth this around, and we've got a little bit of the bocconcini there that will make sure we've got covered up all the way through. That looks fantastic. Now, Rosie, this will go into the oven at about 180 degrees Celsius. It'll take about 45 minutes. You'll know it's cooked because the pasta will be cooked and it'll be nice and brown on top. Into the oven we go. What do you think, Rosie? Ready to go?
That's impressive, isn't it?
See what I mean about the crunchy bits on the outside? Oh.
If you bring that round, you cook that, I think you'd have to have a lot of burnt mouths, I think. People would just be trying to tuck in straight away.
You're dead right, and it's a good idea to take this out of the oven, let it sit there for 20 minutes or so, just to cool down a little bit. Look at that.
Hide it, because it looks good.
Oh, that looks fantastic. I got some of that bocconcini there as well. This is a great pasta bake. Fantastic. It's cooked all the way through, bits of sausage in there. It is red hot, so I should let it cool down a little bit, but I'm not going to. I'm going to touch straight into it.
Bit of white sauce, bit of red sauce. I love the mixture. Typically Italian. How's it taste?
Outstanding. That sausage is beautiful. Bits of bacon through there is lovely. And very, 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 very cheesy.
But is it better than vegan?
Definitely.